So, listen, you guys. Some of us has had this period of their life before where we have desperately wanted to just mercilessly slaughter any human, animal, or even alien standing in the way of our mission. The mission for world domination, for a unified vision of peace and prosperity over the kingdom we ourselves named as younglings. Mine, by the way, was the Eon Empire. Honestly, I have no idea why. Don't ask me. I have no clue. It just really sounded cool at that time, okay? All right, I mean, come on. Which child has not created their own world that they themselves ruled or wished that they did? No? Is it just me? Really? With my crazy imagination? Well, my friend, imagine this scenario to your main character point of view. What if you were one day kidnapped? And what if that kidnapper knew all of your personal information and they wanted to use that data to extract information about your ancestry? What if your ancestry was paved by assassins who helped guide the way for future generations, and an evil company wants to use that knowledge inside you to take over the world and enslave all of mankind in the process? With no power in your hands, you must feed them the information that they need, or else they will kill you. No one can save you, and you are the only one who knows the truth of what is actually happening. What would be your choice? Would you feel powerless, or would you rise to the challenge to thwart these evildoers' plans? Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of The Old But Certainly Gold, the show where we cover the stories of all the juiciest games of our time. On the menu today is the original Assassin's Creed from 2007, an action-adventure stealth-like game published by Ubisoft. The game was published on consoles such as the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, as well as on the computer in 2008. As always, there's just a disclaimer before we start. The storytelling has definitely been shortened just so that the video won't be an hour or too long, and as a content warning, this will be spoiler heavy, and if you don't want to have your gameplay spoiled, I suggest you tune off of this video, and I'll just see you guys in the next one. Now, with that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, let's just sit back, sip on our teas, our coffees, or whatever it is you guys drink, and get right to it, shall we? So, this whole story starts off with one man, Desmond Miles, the main protagonist, who kind of looks like your young, average, rugged fellow. He's strutting around in jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers, looking all laid back with no worries on his mind. He doesn't really boast that I am an important figure, yet being one of the most central characters in the Assassin's Creed history and having his appearance in multiple games in the franchise. This guy is a staple in the Assassin's Creed history and is a very, very well-known character, so if you have played the games, you definitely know who this person is. But let's talk about backstory. Desmond was born in the year 1987 and grew up in a secluded area away from the rest of society, a place only known as the Farm. In his early years, he was taught about the Assassins and the Creed, as well as warned about someone named the Templars. Growing up, he always saw these stories that his parents would tell him about two factions fighting each other as mere trivial matters, and found his parents quite crazy for believing in such nonsense. As he turned 16, however, he decides to run away from home to live as a normal person, as he found the teachings quite suffocating and his parents to be mere conspirators. He honestly gets the hashtag worst son reward ever. If that was me, my mom would seriously punch me all the way across the freaking world with a slipper or something. She would really chase me to the ends of the earth just to punish me. Yeah, there would be no poor little me at that point, honestly. It's kind of scary to think about. Moving on. Desmond, he flees on off to New York to make a living for himself and eventually manages to land a job as a bartender. This, however, is very short-lived as he gets kidnapped and his entire world is turned upside down. He is actually held captive by Abstergo Industries, which is this huge corporation responsible for most of the development of human technology. This, however, is just a front that they use to hide their main objective, which is the destruction of the Assassin's Order. They are basically contributing to a lot of the world's progress, but hiding their true nature in the shadows. Sounds familiar, no? They're actually plotting and scheming away. They basically meddle in economics and politics and military power and use capitalism and scientific progress to basically control the world. They kidnap Desmond to use him as a test subject to recall the memories of his ancestors who were, in fact, assassins. Their prime goal in this kidnapping is to use his memories to locate something called the Apple of Eden, which will help them in their final mission in destroying the Assassin's Order and eventually taking over the world. They use a machine that they call the Animus, which is a virtual reality machine, which basically lets them just read the genetic memory of a person. And honestly, that is so freaking insane. Like, imagine just being able to know what your ancestors were up to. Maybe I have some assassins in my blood. Or maybe they were just like freaking boring people or something. Probably the latter, huh? Yeah, it's kind of sad. Moving on, while under the effects of the Animus, Desmond is made to recall the memories of an ancestor named Altair ibn La'ahad, who lived in the year 1191 during the Third Crusade in Jerusalem. His name is actually pretty long, so we're just going to go ahead and call him Altair from now on. Try repeating that full name a bunch of times in a row, you guys. Altair ibn Lahad, Altair ibn Lahad, Altair ibn Lahad. Oh my god, that's so horrible. This gorgeous young stud, he's all mysteriously dressed in a white ensemble, making the ladies like swoon at the sight. Honestly, he's like a walking freaking snack, if I might say so. A snack in the year 1191. What is wrong with me? Okay, honestly, don't mind if I do. I'm just saying, he's like strutting around there. Like, have you seen his hips like move side to side when he's walking or what? Honestly though, even though I do love that full-on white ensemble, I truly wonder how he manages to even wash out all those bloodstains. Like, how is there no bloodstains on his clothing? Like, how does it even happen? Is it just me that notices that? Anyways, as Desmond is being forced under the Animus, his body actually starts rejecting it fully and his life is put in danger because of this. He's constantly trying to fight it while the scientists are trying to stabilize him, and they make many attempts to make him more comfortable with the experience, though ultimately it doesn't really pan out as they want, which then has him drag him out of the Animus as to not lose him. They had recently just lost another test subject, which ultimately led them to kidnap Desmond instead, and he pleads with the doctors that he isn't in fact an assassin, while they, who already know of his ancestry, threaten to put him in a coma if he refuses to help them. So he ultimately complies for the fear of his life, and he is brought into the Animus again, and this time it works. Side note right here, let me just say, the acting right here is just like pure gold, you guys. It's so like excellent and immersive. The voice lines are so crisp and like natural. Okay, if you don't get the joke, I totally just like cringe at this scene every single time. You have what we need. Like the typical bad guy's voice. So dark and mysterious, huh?
Why are you doing this to me?
You have information we need, Mr. Miles.
Information? I'm a bartender, for Christ's sakes. What do you want me to do? Teach you how to mix a martini?
Desmond's first run-through in the Animus proves to the scientists and Abstergo that he is the perfect test subject, as he manages to recall the memories of Altair, a high-ranking assassin in the Order. Okay, we're now going to go through a lot of information, so strap yourselves in and stay with me here, okay? Maybe I should just like put up some like Coin Master to the side or something. Okay, here we go. When we finally go into the memories of Altair, we are off the bat taught that he is looking for a treasure that his master, a man named Rashid ad-Din Sinan, also known as Al-Muallim, has told him to retrieve. Something that they call the Apple of Eden. But what actually is this thing that they're looking for? Well, thank you guys for asking. It is believed that the Apple of Eden was a piece created by a civilization named the Isu that lived on the earth long before mankind's existence. They are a species of humanoid beings with superhuman abilities, and the Apple of Eden was a piece that looked like an orb, which was used by the Isu to modify the human brains, to make them basically obedient to them. They created the humans and enslaved them until two people, Adam and Eve, stole one of the pieces and started a war between the Isu and the humans. Do we comprende? Yes? Okay, let's continue. Oh, there's a side note just before we continue. The game does draw a lot of inspiration from various historical, cultural, and religious events or settings. They use cities such as Jerusalem, Acre, and Damascus, which Altair navigates through. The cities each had their own unique architecture, as the developers implemented the use of medieval castles and style, as well as the cultural history of the cities such as Jerusalem and Damascus. Some examples could be found in the marketplace or the many narrow streets and crowded places which could all be explored. Alright, so now that we know the backstory and what this item is, let's continue. Altair is, as far as I can tell, very confident with himself to the point of being very arrogant and toxic to his peers. He gives off a villainous persona at the start of the game, as in the first 10 minutes of the gameplay, he has already broken all 3 of the sacred tenets of the creed. These are actually 3 rules upheld by the assassins, which guided them but also restricted them from unnecessarily hurting innocents. It kept their reputation going and created peace within the world and oneself, as they said. The creed's tenets go as follows. Number 1. Stay your blade from the flesh of an innocent. They believed that hurting innocents would bring about discord and ruin to the order. It would have them kill with purpose and not butcher any bystanders unnecessarily. Number 2. Hide in plain sight. Their mission was to get as close to the target as possible, eliminate, and then vanish as quickly as they had come. Number 3. Never compromise the Brotherhood. They were to never bring any harm to anyone in the creed, whether it being directly or indirectly through their actions. Altair's mission given by Al-Mu'allim goes awry, however, and as a consequence, he loses the power to the Templars. So he has to now face his master empty-handed. And let me just tell you guys, this man is so not happy with this. His face literally twists and turns, and his brows like furrow like a freaking chihuahua. He honestly wants to rip Altair's head clean off, but instead decides to disregard and disgrace Altair.
I send you, my best man, to complete a mission more important than any that has come before. And you return to me with nothing but apologies and excuses.
It honestly just feels like my mom whenever I would go into the pantry and steal a few cookies before dinner. Yeah. Those are bad memories, guys. Don't mess with your moms, I swear. Their conversation is interrupted, however, by a fellow assassin named Malik al-Saif, who had followed Altair on his mission but had been separated from him as they were fighting with the Templars. He, instead of Altair, has managed to steal the apple and then hands it off to the master, and then proceeds to yell at Altair for his arrogance and states to the master that he had broken all 3 tenets of the creed while on this mission by, number 1, getting a fellow assassin, Malik's brother, Kedar, killed by being reckless, number 2, killing a bystander as to not leave any witnesses, and number 3, revealing himself to the Templars all in one go. This enrages this tiny chihuahua, or better known as his master Al-Mu'allim, but before anything can happen or be done, they are attacked by the Templars and have to head out of the fortress to protect themselves. So you guys might be wondering who the Templars are at this point, as I keep mentioning them and will continue mentioning them throughout the story. Let me just grab a sip of water right here and you guys go watch that Coin Master or something in that meantime, okay? So, the Templars, or the Order of the Knights Templar, is an organization who are dedicated in the creation of a new world order by using force and control over its people. The game uses the Bible to sort of explain how they came to be. Basically, very short, Cain murders his brother Abel to acquire the artifact, the Apple of Eden, from him, but he is later branded with a red cross for his sin. Later on, his followers would use this mark to create the Templars as we know them today, and their quest would always have a unified vision of keeping peace for humanity after mankind's war with the ancients, the Isu. They would revel in their power and sought to use it to their own benefit as they pursued them to want to further their knowledge of the remnants to become the leaders of humanity. The Templars themselves had 3 sacred tenets that they went by as well, and they go as follows. Number 1. Uphold the principle of our order and for all that which we stand. Number 2. Never share our secrets nor divulge in the true nature of our work. Number 3. Do so until death, whatever the cost. And breaking any of these tenets would result in losing one's life. Side note, the story of Assassin's Creed, the more you dig, the more interesting it actually becomes. They have done such a phenomenal job in creating this world and adding bits and pieces of our history throughout the franchise. It has received many positive reviews for its story and gameplay, which is honestly not even shocking with how in-depth they go. Well, after replaying it, I can also understand how the story can be a bit, dry, I guess, even though I quite enjoy it, of course. This amount of dialogue, however, can get any Gen Xer or Gen Zer to like literally snooze off. So yeah, you better strap yourself in for this journey if you guys decide to try it, you guys. As the Templars are approaching the base with Robert de Sable in the front, Altair is given a mission by his master to sneak behind them and release a hidden trap consisting of huge logs of wood. They then display a leap down a tower as a show to prove a point to the Templars that they have no fear. This is in fact also where we see the leap of faith for the first time, which has since become a staple in the Assassin's Creed franchise. Oh, and side note, Robert de Sable is the Grand Master of the Knights Templars, so he's basically a big shot. And now you know. Just like, honestly, look at his schmuck face, you guys. I wonder how shiny his head would be if you flashed like a big flashlight to it. Maybe you could like see it from Mars or something. It kind of reminds me of One Punch Man. Is it just me? As Altair releases the trap, the Templars are pushed back and eventually have to leave the fortress. Altair is then brought in front of the master, and as a consequence for his previous insubordination and disobedience, he is stripped off of his rank and is made a novice once again. He has his authority taken away and is cast out of the Brotherhood. However, Al-Mu'allim tells Altair that he can still redeem himself by eliminating 9 very important individuals who all play a big role in the works of the Templars. And he's seriously like out here just literally telling our guy to just do a near impossible mission. Like, it's as if he's a new cub like in the world hunting for a rhino or something. The individuals that Altair has to take care of are Tamir, a black arms merchant, Garnier, a doctor and the Grand Master of the Knights Hospitalier in Acre, Talal, a slave trader, Abul, a merchant king of Damascus, William of Montferrat, a crusader in the army of King Richard I, Majid ad-Din, a member of the Levantine Templars, Sibrand, the Templar admiral, Jubar al-Hakim, a chief scholar, and lastly, Robert de Sable, the Grand Master of the Knights Templars. Now, I know a lot of people have given Altair a lot of flack for being such a dull character, but I actually kind of like him. Maybe it's the bad boy persona that makes me like him, or just straight up because he is a freaking snack, you guys. I've played almost every single Assassin's Creed game, and I quite enjoy most of them, I would say. I would definitely say, though, that Ezio's arc is my absolute favorite, as he's also my favorite Assassin's Creed character. Well, honestly, I would bet he is most people's favorite, as he had been featured in the most amount of Assassin's Creed games. He's also one of the very few we have a full understanding of that we get to follow throughout his entire journey until his dying days. However, Altair would definitely come as my strong second, even though I actually quite like Edward from Black Flag. And honestly, it's the personality, you guys. It's definitely not because Edward resembles Chris Hemsworth or anything. I swear. It's not. Come on. This goddamn freaking hottie, I swear to God. I'm so down bad. I just really like how Altair portrays how an assassin really acts. His story, even though it takes some time to develop, has quite an interesting ending on the character, where we really get to see this arrogant brat become a selfless leader who seeks selflessness and truly raises the creed to unimaginable levels. Now, my favorite part of the game was, as I mentioned, that it really gave you the feeling of being a true assassin when playing it. Hiding in bushes, in crowds, or jumping out to suddenly stab someone while then hiding the body in a haystack. You go around collecting information about the target you need to assassinate. You can eavesdrop, interrogate, and gather different items which can be important to your missions. Once you have all the information, you as Altair can then carry out the assassination of that target. It was all around just a great way to experience how to be a true assassin. And don't get me wrong, it's not all a walk of sunshine and roses. The game definitely needed a lot of polishing in many areas, as it could seem as an unfinished game at times, because it felt a little bit clunky in certain areas. But the overall game was just a step in the right direction, and as a child, you definitely were super excited for a continuation of this game when you finished it. So a lot of reviews and people in general have complained about the repetitiveness of the missions and the gameplay, mostly where you would go into the Animus, figure out who you need to assassinate, look for clues or information, and then kill the target over and over again. And honestly, it is very true. It did feel quite repetitive at times, but the overall gameplay and storytelling makes you really look past that and gives you such a fun, immersive experience either way. Even if you would perform similar tasks such as eavesdropping and interrogating targets, the game overall had more positives than negatives, I would say. For example, the extremely detailed world and intriguing storytelling, as well as the fun parkour you could do. It really just compensated for the more repetitive parts. Okay, let's reel ourselves back into the story, shall we? Because honestly, I get lost and I blabber on and on like a broken recorder. And it's just because I'm so excited. So, Altair takes this mission that the master gives, like really seriously, and heads on off to eliminate these 9 targets. So in the next few scenes, we literally go about exploring the world, doing missions, side quests, meeting new people, and so on. Also, it's very good to point out that you do get more time as Desmond as we go in and out of the simulation and learn more about his history and about Abstergo, as well as also get to know one of the lead researchers, Lucy Stillman, who he becomes very friendly with. However, while under the Animus, in Altair's quest in finding these 9 individuals, he learns new information about their connection to the Templars and Robert de Sable, the Grand Master of the Templars. Through these encounters, he starts questioning if what he is doing is right, as well as the creed and his role within the Brotherhood. For example, in his encounter with Talal, a slave trader operating in Jerusalem, and one of the 9 targets, Altair learns that instead of being incentivized by doing evil or actually being a villain, he rather sees his work as doing business with economics in mind, rather than trying to inflict harm on other people. He tries to justify himself by revealing that the people he kidnaps were criminals, poor beggars, and women of the night, as he claimed that with them being sold as slaves, it would give them better lives as they would be given work and discipline in return. Another example could be found in Master Sibrand, another one of the 9 targets. He is the Templar admiral who has taken over the city harbor in Acre and added multiple restrictions on the city's people. And no matter how harsh or oppressive it may seem, Altair ultimately discovers that it is only done for his desire to maintain order and security over its people. He believes that it is necessary to stop the violence and chaos roaming around the city. And this has Altair really questioned if killing this man will truly benefit their cause in the end. Lastly, as he goes to assassinate Robert de Sable, the main antagonist, as far as we know, Altair learns that even though Robert is taking advantage of the crusade and uses them with the goal in mind to place the Holy Land under their feet and control, he only does so as he truly believes that their cause will bring about stability to the world. However, as Altair slays Robert, he is let in on one last secret, that Al-Muallim had been a key helper and the true mastermind in the Templars locating the Apple of Eden. He had, however, been very greedy and had betrayed the Templars, as well as his own order of assassins, as he wanted to keep the Apple of Eden to himself and make his vision of order and control upon the world come true instead. Shocked by this new revelation, Altair makes his way to the Master for a final confrontation. Oh my god! let me tell you guys how the turntables have turned, huh? Honestly, who is the conspirator now, huh? I was so freaking shocked when I discovered that when playing the game. I remember playing and just like running around killing all these 9 targets. And then all of a sudden, I just had to fight Senpai? With my freaking Senpai, guys. The Chihuahua. Freaking Senpai Chihuahua. Like, why? So, Altair decides to make his way to Al-Mu'allim in a journey filled with a lot of guards and traps trying to stop him from reaching his final destination. And as he ultimately reaches his master, they have a one last confrontation where Al-Mu'allim is wielding the powers emitted by the Apple of Eden. The artifact is actually able to emit illusions on others and control their minds, and he had been using this on his fellow assassins to try to stop Altair from reaching him. And he was now willing to use this power on Altair as well. These illusions, however, they don't trample on our boy's resolution in stopping the master, as he can basically think for himself, and he manages to snap out of it, and in a long intensive fight, where this man is literally quadruplicating himself, Altair ultimately puts a stop to the master and his reign before it can be started. As Al-Mu'allim's body starts getting cold, Altair collects himself and heads on over to the artifact, where it now opens up a world map which ultimately shows him that there are multiple pieces of Eden hidden throughout the world, and their locations are marked. And with that, Desmond is awoken from the Animus as the simulation has come to an end, and the people of Abstergo has collected the information that they want. Through this entire journey, Desmond actually learns that Abstergo is the modern-day Templar seeking the different pieces of Eden, and had used him to locate the memories of Altair so that they would know the locations the pieces were hidden in. They wish to get rid of Desmond, but it is not until they're actually talked out of it by Lucy Stillman, the researcher that he became friendly with, as I mentioned earlier, that they leave him be. Her reasoning actually lies in that they might still have a use for Desmond and his memories if any trouble would arise on the way. As they leave the room, Desmond was now filled with a great determination to get rid of the modern-day Templars, starts having some sort of visions. The walls in his room starts glowing red, almost as if someone had smeared blood all over the walls. He's able to do this by using something called the eagle vision. This is something that the assassins could do, which would ultimately let them perceive the world in a more heightened state. They could see something that no one else could see, even detect objects and information that would otherwise be hidden to others. Desmond ultimately learns this skill through Altair by the time he goes through his memories, and this entire journey with Altair really brought Desmond much closer to his heritage and truly made him accept who he truly is and what his main objective in life really should be. The entire experience in the Animus has Desmond learn and refine the skills of his ancestors so that he himself could actually make use of it. And so, with no further explanation, the screen turns to black. The game ends on a cliffhanger where Desmond has now understood that the stories his parents had told him growing up were in fact all true. He becomes determined to stop the misuse of the pieces of Eden and prepares to fight his way through this. And that, guys, that is where I leave you with the story. This is actually the last scene of the first Assassin's Creed game and how the game concludes. I really hope you guys enjoyed the retelling of this story, and if there's any information that I missed or any fun facts you guys have, please do let me know. If there is any interest in the continuation of the Assassin's Creed games, please leave it in the comments and maybe we're just gonna pick it back up and do another retelling. If you made it to the end of this video, then thank you guys so much for watching in and listening to my rambling, honestly. I am so lacking, but honestly, just doing these videos brings me so much great joy, and it really just has me reminisce and gives me such an excuse to rediscover the games again. So yeah, now as always, if you like this video and you want to see more in the future, give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe. Have a lovely day, people, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!